Let me preface this by saying that this video is going to be a bit different from the usual, and I'll be approaching this in a rather novel light. See, there's a problem with fiction and fantasy, and I'll address it here, and I hope that you can offer a solution thereafter. I won't bore you with the details. By now, you probably already know that the Wheel of Time TV show has been, in fact, been cancelled. If you've seen some of the videos on YouTube, you quickly notice a trend of people jubilating that they, as the quote-unquote real fans, and we'll get into that in a moment, have finally gotten what they wanted, effectively bringing us to today's topic, the rise, or rather the problem of hypercriticism. Now, when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, hardcore book purists lamented. Of course, most people now praise it as a faithful adaptation and whatnot, but in truth, there were more than a few significant changes, from the omission of characters such as Glorfindel and Tom Bombadil, to introducing the elves to the Battle of Helm's Deep, to a complete change in the character of Isildur, making him look like a greedy, weak king instead of the valiant hero we know he is from the books, to giving a feat done by Elrond to Arwen. I could go on, but I believe you get the gist now. However, I'm willing to bet that the reason the Lord of the Rings movies weren't torn down was because book purists and hypercritics were a minority. What this meant was that provided your story was good and entertaining, people didn't care much for both minor and major creative liberties. However, the current atmosphere in entertainment has made anybody with a phone a movie critic, and this, believe it or not, is a huge problem. Honestly, half of the critic videos I've seen are just full of subjective biases stacked on one another. Because they changed this scene from the books, I can list 3 other successful adaptations with similar cases that went really well. For example, we have The Vampire Diaries. The books and the TV shows are so sharp in contrast in terms of the character design and even the story. Some of the plot lines that we love, such as the originals, the heretics, the travelers, these never happen in the books. Yes, there are no original families in the books. Here's another example. In the Lord of the Rings movie, it was Glorfindel, a male elf who helps the Hobbit escape the Nazgûl, Frodo in particular. In the movies, he's replaced by Arwen. Again, the scene where we see Arwen summon the water horses that wipe away the Nazgûl was actually a feat done by Elrond. Now, had that movie come out in today's world, criticism would have been rife about how male roles were being usurped by females to serve an agenda. YouTube critics would have been out and about yapping about how this is all part of a political stance for one side or the other. But to be honest, I think it started when liberal creators started having too much leeway with source material. Then more conservative people, for lack of a better word, perked up to defend source material. Except it went from being few who knew what they were about to being any silly nobody with internet connection. And now we have a mob of internet hypercritics to whom nothing can satisfy. The problem therefore is that fantasy and fiction is taking a hit because people who can give any good reason why they don't like an adaptation, other than it's not verbatim what I read in a book or a comic, are having the loudest voice, which is in no small way silly. But enough about the problem. The solution? Cease phone from the morons? Well, look, I don't claim to know what the answers are, and hence why I'm here. What say you? How can we combat this, and is this even possible?